What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Five Pod, episode number 135. I'm, of course, your co-host, Kyle Morello. Next to me, the one and only Jake Copestick. Cope, how in the world are you already at double-digit games this year? That's insane. We're not even through November yet.
Yeah, going to hit number 11 tomorrow with Drexel. Going to hit number 2. It'll be 13 by the end of next week. So 13 in the first month, I think, bodes pretty well for my over-under of 50. But yeah, look, got to get active. Got to get active. You know, you got to take care of yourself, but at the same time, I'm out there. If there's a game to be going to, if there's a game that I can get to, I'm trying to be good about not burning myself out like I have kind of the last 2 years. But at least for now, I can put pedal to the metal at least like a little bit.
Yeah, you'll pick your spots.
Yeah, we're at 10. We're going to keep chugging on. The goal is to hit 50. Honestly, I want to smash 50. I don't want to just get to 50. I want to smash it responsibly because again, I can't get sick and then miss 3-4 games and miss a week at a time. But I'm glad it's back, Kyle. Put it that way. I'm happy Hoops is back.
Yeah.
Happy Hoops is back.
You and me both. And by my math, and I'm not a math guy, as we know, but by my math, you're on pace for 62. So that's pretty good, I'd say. And I'm sure there will be some games you'll have to miss, but you're on a good pace right now. So
knock on wood. Let's hope that's not the case.
Knock on wood. Let's hope that's not the case. But anyway, yes, as you all know, a lot going on. College basketball is back in full swing. We're almost at Feast Week, which is so fun. It's one of the best times of the year. Obviously now there's been some MTEs. We had the Champions Classic this week. Baja Mars going on right now. These things are starting to pick up a little bit. There was the incredible non-conference heavyweight clash between Arizona and UConn the other night. That was a phenomenal game. There's a lot going on right now. This is the best time of the year for now, until we get to conference play and then March and everything like that. But with that, of course, Cope, our favorite time of the year is Big Five play, and we're in the midst of Big Five play right now. A lot of drama unfolding. We're going to talk about it all right now. But first, you've got some quick hitters to give us. So I think you grab that ball. Let's run the break. What do you got?
Just 2 quick ones here, Kyle. We'll bang them out quick. How about first, Kyle? Bernadette McGlade, the commissioner of the Atlantic 10, also a Gloucester City, New Jersey native. She's going to retire at the end of the season. The end of the academic year. Sorry, yes. I was looking for the correct term there. And the end of the 2025-2026 academic year. She's going to retire. 45-year career in administration, last 18 years with the Atlantic 10, the 5th commissioner in the 50-year history of the league. A lot of good stuff here that she did. First, there was some jumbling around as far as teams go. There was a Loyola Chicago expansion. Very upsetting that UMass decided to leave, which we will save for another day. Ryan Bamford, you will pay for your sins one day. But anyway, this league has a great media rights deal. Obviously, the conference tournament bounced around, but they're playing it in big arenas. I've been there the last 2 years. They were in Brooklyn 2 years ago. They were in Washington, D.C. last year. They're going to go back home to the birthplace of the Atlantic 10 and the home base in Pittsburgh this year. But a lot of good stuff going here that Bernadette McGlade had in motion. The thing is, Kyle, with such a transient time in college sports, with paying players, with the fact that this has become a one-bid league some years, this next commissioner has to be aggressive in scheduling. Can they get more TV games than they already have? They have a great deal with CBS. They do. It's awesome. The championship game they have, we just watched Villanova, LaSalle on TV. But anything to maximize revenue for these teams and anything that this new commissioner, whoever it may be, how does this become a multi-bid league again? It's hard. We just saw a great rant from Chris Caputo from George Washington about how it's pretty much just a members club type thing with the power conferences. But who's going to come in here as the next commissioner of the Atlantic 10 and be real aggressive in scheduling? And again, Kyle, how many years in the past has this conference just been a 1 or 2 bid league? It has teams. This conference is too good and has teams that can get there. Like look at George Mason last year. VCU or Mason, whoever would have lost that championship game would not have been in. over some teams that, I mean, Texas didn't win a good road game last year. UNC,
Oklahoma was under 500 in SEC play. 4-12,
Oklahoma
I think it was.
They were four teams from the bottom
in
the SEC. You had North Carolina that I think people would not have, the UNC AD being the head of the tournament and it being North Carolina, like that's a big reason why they got in. But if they missed the tournament, I think a lot of people would have said, yeah, that makes sense. They could have done a lot more. So this is a league, Kyle, that's been struggling. Who's going to come in next and be aggressive, schedule hard, and make sure that this league can get some traction with the teams. It has to get more teams in the tournament. But regardless, wrapping that up, Bernadette McGlade, South Jersey native, last 18 years heading the Atlantic 10, Kyle. It's going to end at the conclusion of this academic year. So we will see who the new commissioner of the Atlantic 10 will be when that comes. One more, Kyle. Going to try to get the language on this right because there wasn't really like a concrete yes, like this guy was hired. But it's been speculated. It's been tweeted out. I'll get the gentleman's name here. Joe Mahalik Jr. hired allegedly, seems like it's anything but official here, as the next general manager for men's and women's basketball at St. Joseph's. He previously spent time on Steve Donahue's staff while Steve was at Penn. Of course, Joe Mahalik Jr., the son of Joe Mahalik Sr., he's a special assistant to the head coach at LaSalle right now, was an assistant under Dunphy. He played at LaSalle under Fran Dunphy. So strong Big Five roots, strong coaching roots. But in the wake of Rob Sullivan leaving to go to Rutgers, Joe Mahalik Jr. seems all but the ink is dried, Kyle, is going to be the new general manager for St. Joseph's. I want to get this gentleman's name right because Noah Henderson, he is a director of sport management at Loyola Chicago. It appears St. Joseph's hired Joe Mahalik Jr. as general manager for men's and women's basketball. An official announcement has not been made, but SJU has updated its university directory to reflect the hire. And then he had tweeted out that this is just on a temporary basis. I don't know what this is supposed to mean, Kyle. Correction, is filling in on a temporary basis and has not been officially hired. I don't know what any of that means. All I know is the guy was behind the bench at the Penn St. Joe's game. He used to sit on the Penn sideline with Steve Donahue. He was behind the St. Joe's bench. We'll see if this is official. I guess we'll say something about it then. But all signs point to St. Joseph's having hired their next general manager for men's and women's basketball. I think we've used every single terminology for this besides the fact that it was a concrete hire and that he's officially on staff. So I think it's coming. Yeah. So I can't say that 100% to you that he was hired until it happens, but all signs point to that. So anyway, Kyle, let's just get into some games.
On that note,
it's just like he said it appears, and then I quote tweeted it and was like, appears that Joe Mahalik has been hired. He spent this last couple of years as an assistant coach at Penn, and then there was a correction. It's like he's filling in on a temporary basis. What does that mean?
But he's on the website. So
yeah, he was on the school directory. I looked at the athletic staff directory yesterday night, and he was not on there.
Interesting.
But he was on there to the school. I don't know, Kyle.
Hopefully one day we'll get an answer.
We'll get an answer at some point.
One day we'll get an answer. But Cope, onto other things, onto on-court things. We had a couple Big Five games this week, so let's go over them in chronological order here. And the first, Cope, was a seismic wave in Big Five championship implications here, and that would be Penn hosting St. Joe's at the Palestra on Monday night and defeating them by a score of 83-74, which obviously, if you ask anyone, obviously we asked Aaron Bracey, we talked about it ourselves before the season started, and the obvious answers were that St. Joe's and Villanova were the runaway favorites to meet up in the Big Five championship on December 6th at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Now that is no longer the case. Yes, St. Joe's beat Drexel. Now they've lost to Penn. And we'll get to it, but it will all come down to Friday at the DAC, Battle of 33rd Street with Penn and Drexel. If Penn wins, now they are in the driver's seat to play in the Big Five championship, which is not something that we thought just a few weeks ago. But regardless, here we are, and very exciting game for Penn. Took it to him from the moment the game tipped off. TJ Power, Ethan Roberts combined for 54 points, 20 rebounds. Just an incredible duo there for Penn. This was kind of the game that we thought we were going to see, and hopefully we will see more of from TJ Power when it was announced that he would be transferring to Penn. Shot the ball really well. Ethan Roberts shot the ball really well in this game. And if you're St. Joe's, this is not good, especially after the drubbing at Virginia Tech, which we'll get into in a little bit. But they lost by, what was it, 30 to Virginia Tech.
They got smoked. It wasn't close.
Yeah, it was really, really bad. Cope. We'll start with St. Joe's, and then we'll get to Penn. We'll save kind of the team that won for last year. But for St. Joe's, there's no way to dice around it. This is disappointing. This is utterly disappointing if you're St. Joe's and you're expecting to compete for a third straight Big Five championship, take care of business against a team that most people, and I think we both would agree, that is less talented than this Penn team and was expected to win this game. And they simply were flat. I mean, they battled. It was a close game for a long time. Obviously, Penn pulled away, in the last minute or so, but it shouldn't have been that. This should have been a game that St. Joe's controlled, and credit to Penn because they did not let them do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it was a bit shocking to see this happen the way it did. Just because across the board, like preseason coming in, I just said there's too much talent on the St. Joe's team. I just think there's too much talent, and they need to find an identity, Kyle. The first couple of games, they got to the free throw line a lot. I said, all right, you got some speed, some tenacity at the guard spots. Maybe that's your way here. Maybe they don't just shoot a ton of threes. Maybe there's a team that gets to the rim. I only shot 15 free throws with Deuce Jones taking 8 of them on Monday night. And they took 35 threes to the 36 two-point attempts that they had. And it's like I thought that perhaps they were going to move away from that a little bit. Also, Kyle, 332nd. There's a team that's shooting less than 30% from three as a team. They got some open ones. They just didn't make it in this game. But they need to find what their identity is. Okay, if we're not going to shoot the three well, do we want to put up 30 of them a game? Like I think they have the potential to, with the way Deuce can get by people, and he did in this game, and he did have a good game. Just that Glover, Jaden Glover had 12 points, turned it on the second half a little bit. Derek Simpson had a nice game with 16, but Daciero Haskins only had 4 points. He was 0 for 4 from 3. Like, I just thought there'd be maybe a little bit more balance as far as scoring went. And the game against Virginia Tech was not good. And then to go into this game and play the way they did, it was just I was expecting more from them, quite frankly, for this game. And Penn just took it to them. They were efficient. Penn knocked down their free throws. They got there 23 times. Ethan Roberts got there 14 by himself. And how about the fact that TJ Power has 18 in the first half, and then Ethan Roberts, Kyle, was 24 in the second. They played off each other well. In the first half, wasn't falling for Ethan Roberts, so he was screening and getting into TJ Power. And then in the second half, like Ethan Roberts got to the line, he made some tough finishes, and he closed this one out. And that's what they didn't do the prior Sunday when they played at American. They learned from that. They closed this one out. They had their two horses who were going to score all year, bring them home. And how about the fact that Michael Zanoni didn't even score in this game? They still put up 83, and Ethan Roberts and Power combined for 54. So that duo is going to be what brings them home in the Ivy League and what gets them into that top four. And it was nice to see Power break out the way that he did. He hadn't had a game like this since he was in college, but he's in a system now with a coach that believes in him. They're going to give him a lot of freedom. He's going to have the opportunity to have the ball in his hands a lot and shoot a lot of these threes. So really, really impressive game from Penn. And then how about just the complimentary pieces as well, Kyle? Another 8 points from Dalton Scantlebury. had 2 blocks in this one. And Cam Thrower gave a nice change of pace off the bench. He's got size. He's a good shooter. He had 9 points. He knocked down his only 3. Dylan Williams, too, he had 4 points. I thought he played his role really well. He gave him some really good energy. He had a really good layup before half on a ghost screen where nobody went with him. He had a wide open layup to the rim. So impressed with this Penn team so far. They just seem like they have more energy, Kyle, from last year. And it's a shame to say that when the former coach is on the other sideline. But there's a new energy, Kyle. There's more of a pep in their step. Because there was some games last year where, quite frankly, man, Dylan Williams was not good. That's why A.J. Levine took that starting point guard from him, midway or the latter half of the season. And he gave him a really good spark in his first game back. He did. So super, super impressed with Penn. Disappointed with St. Joe's. There's just too much talent, I think, to lose a game like this, where I believe they're the more athletic, bigger, stronger, faster, more superior team. To lose a game like this, disappointed. But this Penn team, Kyle, you can already tell how much better they've been getting. Just the energy they have is really, really impressive.
Yeah, it was palpable. You could, even through the TV screen, and I know you were at the game, I was watching at home, but you could tell that there's a lot of energy on this Penn team. You mentioned Dylan Williams being back. I think that's huge, just to add more guard depth, throw another body out there. And he played well, 2 of 4 from the field, 4 points. Obviously, it's not that much in contribution of scoring, but he also only played 9 minutes. So him ramping back up and getting more in the rotation, I think, will be huge. 15 rebounds, by the way, for TJ Power. Insane. It was a game that, like I said before, if you're a Penn fan, you've been waiting only a couple games for this, but finally see what the potential of TJ Power playing, in this league. And I know obviously they played technically up in league against an A10 team and one that we think will finish in the top half of the A10. But regardless, I mean, this is a guy who was a 5-star, high major player for the last couple of years and obviously didn't play much, but the talent's there. You see why he was so highly touted. So very, very, very good game from Penn. Curious to see how it will translate to Drexel, another juiced up matchup on Friday night at the DAC. Obviously, being home with the Palestra was cool for them. And the crowd seemed decent, not full, but you can tell better.
Yeah, there was no corners, unfortunately, but that might be a lost start if this day. Hopefully, Fran McCaffrey can bring it back. But it was a nice crowd. Yeah, and I think it'd be nice to have these games on weekends. I don't know why, we insist on. It's nice to have a Friday night game for Penn Drexel tomorrow, and then we had a Saturday Drexel at St. Joe's game. But yeah, I don't think a Monday or a Wednesday night is the best time for these. I wish they would do their best to make an effort to put them on weekends. But
yeah, well, I guess to be fair, to play devil's advocate, there's not that many weekends before the Big 5 Classic after the season starts. So kind of have to choose between not playing weekends or not doubling up on the same day as other Big 5 games. I think that's the problem. So I don't know which one you'd rather have. For me personally, I'd rather have them all be standalones. I think that's cool. I like that they did that this year. Last year, obviously, there was multiple that weren't. So
we can't have everything.
We can't.
I don't know.
Beggars can't be choosers, I guess. I don't know, but it was.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Just if it used to mean something. I
agree with. And one more thing before we move on, something that went, I don't want to say viral, but was going around St. Joe's Twitter that we saw. The jerseys. I feel like we can't finish this game without mentioning the jerseys. There's obviously the one picture that was going around of Jaden Clever Toscano's jersey with the absolute tiniest print. I don't know. What are we doing?
Yeah, like, can we just, like, why? Look, they get fucking excuse me. They get Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's name on a jersey.
Yeah.
What happened to that when it was like,
it wraps around, like, that's fine.
Yeah. What happened to what happened to doing that?
Listen, not the same sport, but I've seen Jared Saltalamakia's name on a jersey with the Boston Red Sox and the Marlins back in the day. I think he played for the Marlins.
That's the arc. Yes. Chris Douglas Roberts.
Chris Douglas Roberts, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, like you said.
Like Sharif Abdur-Rahim, even something like that. They would arc it and they would fix it. Like, what are we doing there?
Antetokounmpo.
Exactly.
That fits on a jersey.
You make the arc and you figure it out. Like, what are we doing here?
We can't be doing the tiny names.
Who okayed that? Or you know what? Now, I mean, you're seeing even the men do it. I know the women did it for a long time, but the men even just put the name underneath of the number.
That I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a sponsor. I think part of the reason. Well, I know for the women, obviously, because a lot of them have longer hair, so it covers up the name. Now, there's also sponsorship reasons, though. I think too, which can affect it. Listen, as we've said many times on this podcast and many times in life, you can get upset about things. At the end of the day, most of the time, like 90% of the time, the explanation for it is money.
Well, anything is better than the St. Joe's jersey. Anything is better than that.
That's a different point. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the small letters are. I don't know what.
I don't know who does their like. I know I know those are like special order Nike jerseys, but like, come on, I've never seen a school do that. Like, that's like anything is better than that.
The only other comparison I have to that, and you've probably seen this recently, but Travion Henderson on the Patriots, his like nameplate is tiny on some of those jerseys. I don't know why. Maybe it's a Nike thing. Because Nike makes NFL jerseys too. I don't know. And Henderson's not even a long last name.
It's not even that long of a last name.
No.
It's just like, it's comically atrocious that like St. Joe's does it that way.
I don't
Why
get
can't they wrap it? Like there has to be a solution. I've never seen that on anybody else's jersey. I think Lafayette had some pretty small names on the back, if I remember correctly from the first game, but still, like, what are we doing? Anything? You need a magnifying glass to look at that thing.
Cope, I couldn't in good faith not bring that up when we were talking.
No, we have to. Yeah, we have to.
It's
anything
ridiculous.
Is better than that, man.
It's a ridiculous thing. I don't know. Yeah. All right, enough of that. We'll move on because we do have another Big Five game to talk about that happened on Wednesday night, Cope, and that would be Villanova making their first trip to the new John Glaser Arena, take on LaSalle. Unfortunately for LaSalle, the game did not end well for them. It ended better for Villanova in a 78-55 victory. The game wasn't really all that competitive, to be quite honest with you. I think LaSalle made it within a 10-point game a few times in the first half. And then by the middle of the second half, you looked up and it was a 20-point game. Not so much a competitive a game, but Cope, I was thinking about this, on the onset of us recording tonight and thinking about this. I'm not going to say anything just yet, like concrete about this, but Villanova looks good. Villanova looks the best that we've seen them, and this is our fourth season covering the Big Five. This is the most complete team from them so far, and I know it's early. I don't want to get too ahead for my Villanova fans out there, but they look good. They're taking care of business against these teams. I mean, this is not that they've struggled so much against LaSalle in recent years, but they've had games in the past, with teams somewhere in the caliber where maybe they've struggled and slipped up a little bit, and they're going to play harder games. And they did lose to BYU, although that game was very competitive as well. But they look solid. They look like a team that could potentially break a drought.
No, 100%.
Because the bar is not so high for that. I mean, making the tournament is something Villanova should be doing, but this looks like a team that could be on their way to doing that.
No, 100%. And they're not in their final form yet. Devin Askew, Tafara Gapara, Zion Stanford got a couple minutes the last two nights. They're all still working their way back. This is not a fully even healthy team yet. And they do look good. And I look at these guys, I look at this team and I'm like, you know what? I think they got four damn good players. And Tyler Perkins will fit anywhere. He had a good game last night with 13 points, 3 assists. But Caden Lewis is smooth. He gets in the paint. He makes the right decisions, 6 assists, 2 turnovers. Like, he's a very good maestro with the ball in his hands, a very good off-ball scorer. And Bryce Lindsey, who only had 10 points yesterday, but I mean, 9 3-pointers, breaking that Villanova record against Sacred Heart the other night. Like, we have a good point guard. There's a good shooter here, a very good big man in Duke Brennan, who's quieted us.
Yeah,
not only with a rebounding. If nothing else, I mean, he's been a beast on the boards, grabbing another 13 last night, the leading rebounder in the Big East. He's been very good
per game in the country.
If not, he's up there. He's been terrific this year, rebounding the ball and playing that center spot. And then Matt Hodge last night was 17 points, spaced the floor real well. They drew up a couple plays for him to get the ball down low and score. He had a nice dunk where he drove past somebody. Like, They do look good, and they're still a work in progress because defensively, Kyle, they're going to switch a lot, and the switching has not been great at times. I was at the game against Duquesne, and they gave up 77 points, and they gave up some pretty high shooting percentages. I asked Kevin Willard, because I felt like the game kind of flipped on its head a little bit. End of the first half, Villanova got some turnovers. They had not only a lot of turnovers, a lot of points off turnovers in the Duquesne game, and it kind of flipped. Then their offense was playing with more energy when the defense picked up, and they got a couple turnovers and they got a couple easy runouts. And I asked Kevin Willard after the game, I said, what did you see from that stretch? It felt like the game kind of turned a little bit. He said, nothing. Our defense there's nothing to like on defense right now. So the switching has to get better, because if they're going to do a lot of it, they're going to have to communicate a lot. And in that Duquesne game especially, there was guys getting open. But offensively, early on, looks like a pretty good team, Kyle. And they won in the fashion they did last night, and they were 8 of 25 from the 3-point line. Bryce Lindsey only has 10 points. So I like them a lot. To have a 20 of 29 from inside the arc, Kyle, almost 70%. I like what I see so far. And again, they're not even fully healthy yet. Zion Stanford played 8 minutes. He only played 2 or 3 in the Duquesne game. Tafari Gapar gives him another dimension to play smaller. He plays 20 last night, but he's still working his way back. I like what I see from this team here, Kyle. I know it's year one. It's hard to win anywhere your first year with this many new players, but so far, offensively, I like what I see. Defensively, they'll have to pick it up, but at the same time, Kyle, this early on, they're at least exceeding what I thought they would be.
Yeah, they've been solid. And listen, we're not gonna sit here and say that they've beaten insane competition. I mean, the one really good team they played, they lost to, but. I'm looking at Ken Palm rankings right now at the time of them playing these games, but Queens 180th, Sacred Heart 289th, Duquesne 114, and LaSalle 228. So they're not exactly playing insanely good teams. The best team they played in that is Duquesne, and they did struggle a little bit. Only a 10-point victory. I think it could have been more. But they're taking care of teams that they should have, and that's the first step in.
That's what's crushed them the last 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing where I'm like, okay, they're taking care of these teams that they should be taking care of. It's not a bad thing. And like you said, they're not even playing, I don't think, their best basketball. Caden Lewis hasn't even close. Caden Lewis hasn't even been playing that great really either. I mean, not that he's been bad.
Disagree. The last couple of games he was very good last night. He was
a lot better, but he started off a little slower the first few games. They've gotten contribution from other guys that like Duke Brennan, Matt Hodge. Bryce Lindsey's been awesome. Bryce Lindsey's been really, really good. But yeah, like you said, they have things can clean up looking at their Ken Palm numbers here.
Yeah. Still, I gotta fight you. I gotta fight you on the fact that Caden Lewis is not. I thought Caden Lewis was very good since the BYU game.
I don't think he's been. I'm not saying he's been bad at all. I think he will be even better. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's in his best form yet. That's what I'm saying, which is scary.
24 assists, 10 turnovers. Last 4 games since the
not bad at all. That's how high I am, and I know you are too. I think he has a chance to be one of the best players on this team. That's what I'm saying. But they're allowing 40% from 3 right now, which obviously very concerning.
Defense is going to have to get.
Defense is going to
have to get a lot better.
Yeah, going to have to get a little bit better, but. They're third right now on offensive rebound percentage, which is excellent. There's a lot to like about this team. Can't obviously ignore LaSalle from this one as well. Cope. I'm not going to act insanely upset here. I think this is just a team that was overmatched talent-wise. And another coach in his first year of the program who's trying to figure some things out, and Darius Nichols. And also, I think that the one big thing, and I know you're going to hit it on it too, that people have to realize about this LaSalle team is they're not close to fully healthy. They're missing 4 guys who will contribute, especially Noah Collier, who one of the best. I've seen lists, and I think I probably agree, is one of the better transfers coming into the A10 this year. They're missing him.
They're down. They could be down 3 starters.
Yeah, they're down. They're down 4 contributors at the very least.
Yeah, so they got to get healthy.
Yeah.
And then here's one thing, though, I want to say, Kyle, because they're out rebounded last night, and They were only out rebounded 33-28, so it's not a giant margin. But the thing is, early in the game, Villanova was getting offensive rebounds. A good chunk of those 13 offensive rebounds are early in the game, and you look and it's like, hey, they're up 9-10 up. And they set the tone for the game. And then at the Temple game, because I want to touch on that because we haven't recorded since we spoke about that.
That's true, yes.
But I was at the Temple LaSalle game to get out rebounded 44-29. So I'm in the press conference. Steven Bagel, my guy, is sitting next to me. He asked Darius Nichols about the rebound, that jaw, and he cuts him off and just says, "We didn't do it today. we didn't do it today." So that's the thing. They unfortunately, Kyle, they have not rebounded that jaw in the last two games in the Big Five games here, and especially Villanova. Again, not the margin it was at Temple, because Temple just did a good job of limiting them to one shot, but Villanova grabs some early. They get out to a hole that LaSalle had to climb out of, and they set the tone for the game. So that's the thing I did not like about the rebounding, was that Villanova came out and was the aggressor. Second of all, Kyle, shooting is going to be tough for them, especially down Truth Harris, who's going to be one of the better, if not the best shooter on this team. It is tough to not have him out there, and tough to not have Noah Collier out there as well to stretch the floor from the 3-point line. Just 3 made threes last night, 3 for 13. They only got to the free throw line 13 times as well. So way off of their target. They want to be shooting 25, 30 a night if they can get there. So the shooting is going to be an issue, Kyle. And it's something that they're going to have to overcome, because they're probably going to be overmatched and very likely just about every time they go out there, Kyle.
It's streaky at best right now.
It's going to be a better 3-point shooting team on the opposite side of them. Yeah. But can't really control if the shots can go in. Through the 2 Big Five games, unfortunately, Kyle, they have not rebounded that, John, unfortunately.
No.
But they got to get healthy again. They got to get healthy. You've not seen them even close to full form. Ashton Walker's out there with, putting up admirable efforts every night. But, I mean, he's a freshman, and he's had to start. He's put up some good games. But they're hurt. This isn't a great shooting team, and they have a freshman in there handling it, doing everything he can, playing a lot of minutes. So we just haven't seen the end product here with LaSalle. There's a lot of, like, again, Drew Harris, Jaden Johnson, Noah Collier, that's 3 starters right there. And then when Josue Grullon comes back, that's another guy who can help the shooting out a little bit. But for right now, they're not healthy. They're a little thin at the guard spot. I mean, Rob Dockery's having to go in and play point guard, and then anytime Damon Strand can get in there, like, that's great and everything that you can put him in there. He knocked down a couple of threes early, but there's a guy that seldom played at Albany last year, a late ad, kind of like a buy low guy because they needed to fill the Marcus Randolph roster spot, and it's a lot to ask of him. They're really playing 3 guards essentially. Is or excuse me, 4. But Darius wants to play deeper than that. If you're not doing your job, he's going to pull you out. And also, like, they can't get to the depth and the numbers they want to play at. But down 4 guys and 3 major contributors. 4 major contributors, 3 starters. Just not the end goal with this team. But again, the rebounding, Kyle, just a little disappointed in that. And then that Temple game I was at, I don't want to ramble on here, but I do want to touch on the Temple game a little more. Like, I respect the hell out of it. LaSalle wants to be the aggressors. They want to rebound. They're going to blitz, trap, try to blow up every screen. It's just that, like, rotation-wise, when there was a short roll and that ball got thrown to Babatunde Dorodola and they played 4-on-3, and when that ball gets passed after the trap, like, there was some open shooters. No, Temple had a couple cutters. Like, just defensively, it wasn't good enough in that game as well. And then LaSalle tried to pound the ball inside, and Temple held up really well. They helped. They cracked down. They blocked some shots. They made life tough. Like, they just kind of took them out of their game. So, unfortunately, it wasn't 2 great showings from LaSalle in Big Five play, but keep in mind, it's year 1 of Darius Nichols. If the whole team is new, they're not even fully healthy yet, Kyle. There's a lot remains to be seen from them.
Yeah, and obviously, you construct your roster a certain way, and with certain guys thinking we'll slot in different places. When they're not available, it makes the puzzle that much less clear. So they're going to need to get healthy, like you said. A couple of things, just stat wise from them. I'm looking on KenPom right now. KenPom, listen, I'm so happy that we actually have like a sample size, even if it's only 5 games, to like look at for some of these teams. Because you guys know, I know Aaron Bracey mentions it all the time with us, but love KenPom. It tells a lot of the story, not the whole story, but it tells a lot of the story. And some of the strengths and weaknesses of certain teams and strength of schedules, everything like that. So very, very, very informative. But a couple of things on here. I'm actually surprised to see their 3-point percentage is 80th in the country right now, which is higher than I thought it'd be, 36.8. A lot higher than I thought it would be. Actually, their 2-point percentage is 299th in the country, 45.4%. So something they need to work on. And then Cope, another thing, and we heard Darius talk about this in the press conference after the Penn State game at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Non-steal turnover percentage on offense, they are 362nd in the nation, 12.7%. And he mentioned a phrase, if you remember what it is, it's shooting turnovers.
Shooting turnovers. And that's, can be anything from bad shot selection, getting your shot blocked, just off of, again, a bad shot selection as well. Things like that. He mentioned this specifically, and it was an ailment for them in the Penn State game as well, which is why he mentioned this. But that tells the story right there. Non-steal turnover percentage means besides getting the ball stolen from them, they're still turning it over at 12.7% rate. Includes blocks, includes turnovers, bad passes. I mean, getting their shot blocked a lot too.
They're getting the shot blocked a lot, and that's a problem too. I don't know exactly how you correct that.
Well, I asked. I didn't ask him, but he kind of brought this up at the Temple game. Like, just because you get the paint and you shot fake, it doesn't mean you have to shoot it.
Yeah,
like you can kick it out if you draw. Like, you don't have to try to draw a foul like that. Monmouth game, Kyle, they had their shot blocked 11 times. So but again, like they're learning each other. Like, this is a new league for a lot of guys too, bumping up. So
yeah,
there's so much newness, Kyle. Again, they're 5 games in and they're not fully healthy.
No. And again, that's the bottom line, is that they have talent unavailable at the moment. It's unfortunate, but it is the reality, and they're doing their best to combat that. But they've played 3 tougher teams. I mean, the worst team they played in this last 3-game stretch is Temple, and Temple's 123 on KenPom right now, which is not bad at all. I think Penn State was in the 90s, and Villanova's 37 right now. So they've had a little bit of a tougher schedule than what their first 2 games were, which obviously were wins. So I think it will even out a little more, especially as they get healthy. Unfortunately, though, now they will be playing in the 5th place game with opponent TBD, depending on Friday's matchup, which we will get into a little bit later. All right, Cope, those were the big 5 games. Did you want to mention anything else about the LaSalle Temple game? You were there, obviously. I mean, that was a drubbing. I kind of wasn't expecting it to be that bad, to be quite honest with you. But that was rough for LaSalle, but a great win for Temple. And we're going to talk more about Temple.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to highlight a couple players here. It seems like LaSalle's got, not LaSalle. It seems like Temple's got a trio here, Kyle. But one guy I want to highlight is Aiden Tobiason. Aiden Tobiason playing very well. Darian Ford playing very well. Gavin Griffiths playing very well. Just looks confident out there. But for Aiden Tobiason, Kyle, 23 points against Delaware State. He had 21 in a win against Hofstra. He's shooting the 3 well. He looks so much more improved from last year. He can shoot the 3. He can create space and get his own shot. He got those long arms. He can defend multiple positions. He can block shots. He can steal the ball.
A lot of energy too.
Man, he looks so good for Temple this year. And, much has been made about how many players they lost, but how about the 2 they brought back, Kyle, with Aiden Tobiason and Babatunde Dorodola? They're one of only a couple teams in the league to bring back 2 starters. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
All we do is oh my God, there's so many newcomers. But the fact that they even brought 2 guys back is something needs to be said for that. But man, he looks good. Playing a lot of minutes, playing very good defense, scoring the ball, efficient. And you look at the one game where maybe he wasn't at his best and he wasn't that great is when they lose to Boston College. But as Aiden Tobiason goes, I really believe that this team will as well. And Darian Ford has been good. He's been knocking down the 3. Like and then Gavin Griffith as well. Like that trio is going to drive the Owls. They've looked really good. It was a really nice win that they had against Hofstra in the return game of a home and home. But specifically, Aiden Tobias and Kyle look so good, affecting the game in so many areas, and legitimately like could be this team's best player on both ends. He looks so improved, Kyle, so comfortable out there. But offensively, man, this guy looks good. So wanted to highlight him. They're 3-1. They're going to go to Temple here at the beginning of the month to try and get a spot in the Big Five championship game.
They are Temple. They're hosting. They're going to Villanova.
They're going to Villanova. But man, this guy is so much improved from last year, Kyle. He looks great.
Yeah, and you mentioned how many minutes he's played. I'm pulling up their page right now. He is 16th in the nation in minutes percentage, 91.9. And actually, they have another guy in the top 50, Darian Ford, 87.5. And then Jordan Mason ranks 122nd.
Yeah. And he's been an unsung hero as well, because Temple is playing as with Jordan Mason being the starting point guard, Kyle. He's not only a guy that's dishing out assists, Temple's not turning the ball over a whole lot. Yeah. And Jordan Mason's a big reason why. So as much as that trio gets a lot of shine, like Jordan Mason has quietly been very good through 4 games still.
Cope, this Temple team quietly, like you said, has a lot to like. 3 guys shooting over 38% from 3, and the big 3 you just mentioned, Tobias and Ford and LeBron Frames, Gavin Griffiths. That just cracks me up every time. But Baba has been really good. You mentioned Jordan Mason. Like they've got some guys here, and they're quietly playing really, really well. They're top 50 in 3-point percentage. They're 8th in turnover percentage in the country, 11.1%, 8th in the country, which is phenomenal. They take care of the basketball. They don't really do a lot of things bad. I like the one thing I think that I'm, looking at in their kind of overview of their stats here that maybe you wouldn't notice so much unless I guess you were like insanely looking at box scores and deciphering, but they should probably shoot the 3 more, Cope. They're 284th in the nation, 3-point attempts to field goal attempts, 34.3% of their shots are threes. But with how well they're shooting it, they should probably, like, if there's one thing to nitpick, they should probably shoot a little more threes. Like, they've got guys to do it. And Adam Fisher likes getting up threes. I mean, he's mentioned that throughout his entire tenure at Temple. So, yeah. And then obviously the Boston College loss, I think, is disappointing, especially they just lost to, it was a Central Connecticut State, I think.
Pat Sellers, man.
So that was the one where I was like, you wish you had that back, and I think they're going to wish they had that back. But, high major team, I guess you run into that.
There's a borderline.
They're not a great high major team.
Nobody shows up to these games. Second, they lost to Dartmouth last year. That was off a crazy trip because they did an MTE somewhere on an island, I think, and then they flew back and played Dartmouth 2 days later, which they didn't have to do. No. But still, I mean, I think the Temple,
they should have won that game.
I thought they should have won last year up at Chestnut Hill too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, they're in the ACC by definition, but this is it's gonna be one of the worst teams in the ACC, Kyle.
This is a team that's on their level. I mean, yeah, this is a team that they should be, especially at home. So that was disappointing. But outside of that, and I know Delaware State's horrendous, and LaSalle's had their struggles we just talked about, but I mean, a pretty solid Hofstra team they beat. There's a lot to like for this team, and we'll find out more coming up soon. They got UC San Diego on Monday, which should be a battle. Obviously, you remember them being very good last year and making the tournament. They'll be good again this year.
They're going to play Bradley.
They're going to play Bradley, but also they're going to play Villanova, as we mentioned. And then the Big 5 Classic, whoever they end up matching up with there. So they got some games coming up. Davidson too, a little bit later in December. So we're going to find out more about this Temple team. The AAC is not a cupcake by any means. Actually, they're not the AAC anymore. Excuse me. The American, not a cupcake by any means. There's some good teams there. So yeah, we're going to find out more about this Temple team, but I think there's a lot to like so far from them. All right, Cope. There's a couple teams we have not hit on yet, which we should before we move on to the rest of the schedule for this week coming up. We've got Drexel, and we've got St. Well, we did hit on St. Joe's. Drexel Drexel, we saw them on Saturday against Syracuse. Listen, they played
Not a good second half. It's not
they played
not
a
good
really
second
impressive first half.
They did, though. They
They
did.
played a really impressive first half. That game was close. I think Syracuse's 5-point lead might have been their biggest lead of that half going into halftime, or tied for. And then they shot 4 of 27 in the second half, which they might have ended up a tiny bit better than that. But they scored 18 points in the second half. It was an abysmal effort. Shane Blakely left the game early. It was a disaster. Now, I will say, I think the Syracuse team is better than people thought coming into the season. Kyan Anthony looks really, really good. He's the leading scorer in this game. And I don't even think Syracuse, especially in the first half, played their best game. But this was a rough one from Drexel Cope.
The second half, it was.
The second half was. The first half, like I said, the first half was impressive.
Yeah, they played with a lot of energy. They got some offensive rebounds, and like they brought it to Syracuse the first half. Problem was an ACC team with a lot of really good athletes and a lot of size and a lot of athleticism got up in him and pressed, and that press really gave Drexel fits. Just 18 points in the second half.
That was the turning point when they applied the full court press. That's what did them in.
Yeah. So it was a very tough second half. But you can build off of that first half, but that second half, Kyle, man, Syracuse put the press on him with their size and guys like Donnie Freeman and Kyan Anthony and William Kyle, who bounced back from, I was watching him a bunch at UCLA last year, just couldn't find his footing. He found it at Syracuse on Saturday, grabbing a bunch of offensive rebounds with a big dunk in the second half. But look, that Q's team, like defensively, if they can dig in with the size and the length and some of the athleticism they have, like that can be a sneaky good ACC team. The talent is there. I know they have money. I know they have boosters. Like they have the money to put a roster together, and it looks to be a pretty good one early. Now, they haven't really played that great a competition. Hughes has. Binghamton, Delaware State, Drexel, and Monmouth. Okay, not great. But I'm just saying, from the game that we saw, pretty good. Pretty good. But then on a positive note, Kyle, I was at Drexel Tuesday night. Big win over NJIT. Really blew them out. I mean, that was their first D1 win of the year, 75-43. Didn't give up anything defensively. They got good guard play from Eli Beard, from Josh Reed, from Shane Blakeney, from Kevon Vanderhorst. They moved the ball. They didn't really turn the ball over. 15 assists on 18 made 2-pointers. Kyle, and 24 made baskets for the game. Like it was a 34 free throw attempts. Like it was a really, really good game. Just about everybody scored except for Ignacio Campoy Galvez, who got his first action. But me and Riley Frame, our guy, we did an article for Mid-Major Madness. Like there is a lot to like here. Eli Beard has been awesome. 4 assists in this game, 9 points, made 3 3-pointers. Like he gets in the paint at will. I know he's a little guy, but he plays a ton of energy. The guys love playing with him. Kevon Vanderhorst shooting the ball kind of well. He can get to the rim. Shane Blakeney, maybe you haven't seen it in the scoring column. He had 24 against Colgate, but 13 in this game and 9 rebounds. Like Josh Reed, another guy too I want to touch on. 9.6 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals. He looks like he's going to have a big second year. His body, he's in great shape. So yeah. I think he's going to withstand the season and be physical on the defensive end and get to the rim. Like he looked really good. So lot to like about what I saw from Drexel on Tuesday. And hey, they what they did was, Kyle, they flushed Saturday in the press conference after they said, like, hey, this game was not won tonight. This was won after the Syracuse game. We flushed it. Weight room, practice, film, whatever it was. We flushed our bad performance. They had a better one. And now they're going to have a big time game, Kyle, playing their neighbor from across the street. But yeah, I mean, rough game of Q's, but it was a lot better one against, albeit, the New Jersey Institute of Technology. It was a nice show on Tuesday night from Drexel. Yeah. All around.
Definitely. And yes, like you said, NJIT's not exactly the cream of the crop, but you have to have those games to be able to build up a little bit of confidence, especially after the way the second half went against Syracuse. Because after the first half, you got to think you're in it and you have a chance to pull off this pretty big upset if you're Drexel, and then the wheels fall off. So a good win to build up some confidence, a dominant win at that. And we're going to get to that Friday game in a second. We're going to have a special guest help us break that down. But first, let's go over the schedule for the rest of the Big Five for this coming week. We are going to have an episode we're going to record before Thanksgiving and it'll release on Black Friday. So we're not going to go over everything for Thanksgiving week. But for this coming week, if I can get my calendar right here, obviously, we'll have Drexel Penn on Friday, which we'll get into in a second. Saturday, LaSalle is taking on Lancaster Bible. We're probably not going to talk a lot about that game. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Unless they lose. If they lose, we're probably only going to talk about that game. And of course, the Drexel Penn game, because that would be something. That would be something. Sunday, Drexel is taking on Old Dominion on the 23rd. Monday, like I mentioned, with Temple taking on UC San Diego in Kissimmee. I never know.
I think it's Kissimmee. I don't know. Kissimmee. I ain't been there.
Florida. I have been there. I should know. That's kind of near where Orlando SC plays for playing the Union MLS. And then Temple's also playing either Bradley or Princeton on Tuesday, and then they're also playing Wednesday. TBD who they will be playing in that one and that tournament down in ESPN. And then Drexel at Morgan State on Tuesday the 25th as well. And then St. Joe's taking on Rutgers Camden on the 25th. And we talked about that game in preseason, how they're scheduling light, to put it nicely. And then Old Dominion staying put for a little bit to take on Villanova as well on Tuesday before the holiday a couple of days later. So some things coming up here. Cope, real quick before we're gonna record before Thanksgiving, but the next episode won't come out till after Thanksgiving. So I'll ask you now before we get to our friend coming up here. Favorite side Thanksgiving, what is it?
Last 2 years we haven't done traditional Thanksgiving food. We've just done Italian food. So honestly, which is fine by me. No, that didn't answer your question because I'm not a turkey guy. I think turkey, like I had a deep fried, I never wanted to go back. I think the turkey in the whatever oven you have, I mean, it has the potential to be very mid. And it's definitely not something I look forward to, but I'm a green bean casserole guy. I also love I love sweet potatoes. If you get all the fixins and you put the marshmallows, some brown sugar on top, some walnuts, like I'm big on the sweet potato casserole too. Yeah,
it's green bean casserole for me. That's my answer. I've liked it since I was very young. The best. My mom every year makes sweet potato pie. She does the marshmallows. I don't think she does walnuts, but she does the marshmallows. It's the best. You will have to try some at some point, and I'll have her make you one.
What about dessert?
Dessert? I mean, I'm an apple pie guy through and through.
Okay.
But pumpkin pie also I love. Not everyone's a fan of pumpkin pie, I feel like, but I like pumpkin pie. What about you?
So pumpkin pie has definitely grown on me. But sometimes my grandmother would make me a pecan pie. And pecan pie, big time.
I'm not a fan of it, but I respect it.
I'm in on it. But then, like, and I'll give you another one too that I'm hoping we do, or maybe we can pick one up at the store. You ever had funny cake?
I have not had funny cake. What is that?
So funny cake is a pie shell, melted chocolate on the bottom, and then you put cake batter in it and you bake it in a pie shell.
Ooh.
Funny cake, if you go to like Shady Maple or someplace like that, big on funny cake, very underrated.
Okay, I will have to try.
Something you'll have to try.
I will have to try. All right, Cope, let's not tease this anymore. Our guest coming on right now to talk about Penn Drexel, Conor Smith, who's currently a Penn student, writes for the Penn newspaper. He's a senior. I think he's a senior, Cope. Very, very, very intelligent guy, knows what he's talking about with this Penn basketball team. We've been, having interaction with him for a while now. We try to get him on the pod. Finally got him on the pod for the perfect time. We recorded this on Monday morning before knowing the result of the St. Joe's Penn game. Now, obviously, we know that Penn is one win away from playing for the Big Five title. So this is even more important now, but so thankful to have Conor on. And, well, Why don't we hear from him? Here's Conor Smith. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we have Conor Smith from the Daily Pennsylvanian on Talk Penn Drexel on Friday, the day that you all are seeing this. Conor Smith, first time on the pod. How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me. I kind of first time caller, long time listener, I guess. It's kind of crazy to like see Jake's Big Five background in person on Zoom, I guess, because of the amount of like watched it on YouTube. But my senior year at Penn, writing for the student paper, the Daily Pennsylvanian. You can find most of my work there. I also tweet a lot about Penn men's and women's basketball at Conor F. Smith on Twitter or X, and it's Connor with one N. That kind of gets confused a lot when you're looking me up. He also gets confused when I'm applying for jobs, honestly. But yeah, I'm super excited to be on. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were going to give you time to give yourself a little plug. You kind of already did, but excited to have you on, and we're going to talk some Penn Drexel on Friday. So, Connor, the time we're recording this on Monday morning, both teams have not played yet this week, but Penn is hosting St. Joe's on Monday. Drexel is going up against NJIT on Tuesday. Obviously, we won't know the results of those. We don't know if anyone's, who's going to play well, who's not, whatever. But based on what we've known the first 2 weeks of the season, what's one thing that stands out initially looking out to you for this game in the Battle of 33rd Street?
Yeah, one thing looking at this game specifically is the versatility both teams have. I mean, especially Drexel from the 2 to the 5 have like guys who could really guard positions like 2 to the 5. And Drexel's also a team that is playing very deep into their bench. And of course, that's not what they're going to look like come Big Five Classic, but they're a team that's kind of trying to figure out their identity, still messing with rotations, especially after, the mass exodus that happened in the offseason. And like, this is the first time since I've been covering Penn as a beat in the last 3 years, because I was covering, the Donahue era, where this team has really had versatility, especially in the front court. Specifically guys like Lucas Luth, who's a transfer, is a JUCO transfer. He's a guy that can really guard the 3 through the 5. And I'm very interested to see how he matches up against some of these Drexel bigs. Also like guys like Dalton Scantlebury, who's a freshman center who has shown a lot of promise, especially I know it's a Division III Rowan game, but especially versus Rowan in that season opener, a guy that has much more lateral quickness than I thought. So I'm very interested to see how like that front court matches up against Drexel. And then, going into like the starters for Penn, Augie Gerhardt, who's a junior center, has started every game. He has struggled, but he looks a lot noticeably quicker and faster compared to last year. Seems like he put on muscle, lost a little bit of weight, and that's kind of him buying into like, this whole Fran McCaffrey fast-paced offense. So I'm interested to see how he matches up. And then I guess the question mark of Penn is TJ Power, who's a ex-Duke, ex-UVA guy, was a top 20 recruit coming out. I'm sure we're going to talk about him more. But I'm just interested to see how those 4 guys can match up versus Drexel, a team that is playing deep into their bench, like I said, and has that, versatility definitely in the front court.
And kind of right on, I want to talk about the versatility that these teams have. And I don't want to even talk about the rotations as you brought up. How about just the styles that they play at? Obviously, we know McCaffrey wants to play up-tempo. They're 35th in tempo. And then shocker, if you know anything about any of Zach Spiker's teams, they're 324 this year. And they'll continue to play that way. And I've seen them do this time and time again where they screech these teams that like to play fast to a halt. Saw them play William and Mary last year at the DAC, who plays a mile a minute as fast as anybody does in the country. As you know from covering Brian Earl teams or following Brian Earl teams at Cornell, did the same thing at William and Mary last year. But I see Drexel's ability to slow this thing down. I also see Penn's ability to turn the ball over we don't know if Dylan Williams is going to play tonight. Is he going to play this week? It's been up and down with A.J. Levine, who only got a couple minutes in that American game, despite the fact Penn turned the ball over a ton and they had Cam Thrower, who really is an off-ball guard playing on the ball. So I see the clash in styles here that will make the fight. I think Drexel slowing the game down obviously can take Penn out of their rhythm here. Another thing, too, is you bring up the bigs. And I do like these 2 bigs that Drexel has as well with Garfield Turner and then Martin De La Porterie, who's rebounded well, all of 7'1", and gives them a true 7-footer along with Ralph Akuta will play a little bit, but being Martin being that guy that can stretch the floor and play most of the time, being a true 7-footer out there for him. I see rebounding as an advantage for them as well. Something that Penn's lacking a little bit just with the fact that Scantlebury has kind of been that backup 5, the true freshman to Augie Gerhardt. So I see rebounding coming into it as well, but I see that stylistically, these are two teams that want to do something totally different. I mean, it's like if this was an actual UFC fight, it'd be like you have McGregor, who's got the long arms, who wants to keep you at a distance, versus somebody that wants to fight you in a phone booth and be right up against you. So the styles will make the fight. I give Drexel maybe the nod in that regard, that I think they can slow this game down, and with how much Penn has been turning the ball over, that can cancel out how fast that they want to play. But all good points by you to bring up that there's versatility on the side of Drexel. We saw last year, Ethan Roberts was 4 of 15 in the Penn Drexel, the 5th place game down at Wells Fargo Center. Like, they had the bodies last year to put on a guy like Ethan Roberts and make life tough for him. And once again, a guy like Shane Blakeney, Ethan Roberts, I think that is your biggest matchup of this game. Penn's best scorer, Drexel's best defender. It was Drexel that got the best of that last year. We'll see what can happen again this year, because you have a TJ Power and you have some more scoring on the perimeter that can help out Ethan Roberts. But there's a one-on-one matchup that I'm looking at. So, Kyle, I will kick it back to you, having said all that.
And very good points made by both of you as well. Yeah, definitely. Connor, I want to ask you from the opposing side. I know you mentioned a little bit, and Cope did as well, but who on Drexel, since we are the Big 5 pod, obviously we got to talk about the Drexel side of this as well. Who on Drexel, in your opinion, do you think is suited to give Penn the most trouble in this game?
I think a guy that I'm excited about on Drexel in general, I think the majority of the Big 5 fan base is Eli Beard, who's a JUCO product, is averaging like 12.5 a game, which I think is tied with Blakeney for the points per game on Drexel side, especially against, because he's a shorter guard. He's 5'11". He's going to be matched up against a lot of shorter guards. So I feel like just like that's maybe not like somewhere where Drexel is like, superior to Penn, but that's a matchup to definitely watch, especially if AJ Levine for Penn side is playing the majority of minutes at point guard, which we kind of expected him to be coming into the season, but we'll see how that matches up. I'm very excited to see that matchup, just because like Eli's kind of been scoring at will. And it's like, maybe from a vertically challenged guy myself, I like to see a small guy get to the hoop, and that's something that Eli Beard can definitely do. I think that's definitely something to watch on Friday. Besides him, like we already mentioned, Blakeney, who's, was kind of gearing up to be in that number 1 role, maybe hasn't stepped into that as much as we thought for Drexel. So like, I'm very interested to see that matchup with Roberts, as Jake pointed out. But I think just like those two guys, especially versus this Penn defense, which has struggled to guard anyone outside of, like we said, Rowan. But even against Rowan still put up 70 points, which is like, Frank McCaffrey getting his first win for the Quakers up 50 points was not happy about that. So like, I'm very interested to see how they can try to slow down those like two like kind of like offensive like juggernauts for the Dragons, especially like I don't think anyone really saw Beard kind of progressing this way. That's kind of like the beauty of where we're at right now in college basketball. You never really know who the guy is going to be.
Yeah, right on it. Guys at D3 players putting up video game numbers at Mary Hardin Baylor in D3 coming here. I mean, he's a little guy. He's like a stocky built guy. I feel like you look at his 3 ball and it's almost like looks like a Joakim Noah shot. It doesn't really rotate. It's like a knuckleball almost, but it works. Look, the prettiest shots are the ones that go in, and this guy is making it happen right away. And a D3 guy here, you have, filling in for Deuce Drake, who's at Indiana now. It's crazy the Drexel pipeline of they turn over every stone possible to get guys in. But yeah, Kyle, if I had to pull one guy here, I'm going to try to pull somebody different because Connor did take my guy here. But I think Victor Panov, if he can be healthy for this game, is big. Rebounding wise, if that's an area that I think that Drexel can exploit, they need him to be in for this game. Zach Spiker said that he was day to day. He then followed that up by saying that we're all day to day after the Syracuse game. He had an injury in the Colgate game. kept them out of Saturday's contest against Syracuse, but that he can be a guy that can help on the boards. His physicality down low at the 4 spot can certainly help out. And if he is healthy and he is playing, that's the guy that's probably going to be on TJ Power and probably guarding, the next best offensive player, sans Ethan Roberts for Penn. So I think Vic's going to have, if he's in, I'll be at the Drexel NJIT game on Tuesday, can give you more info on that. But those two individual matchups, last year, again, Ethan Roberts kind of taken out of the game. Penn scored less than 20 points in the second half against Drexel a season ago. It's those, we can talk about the 5-on-5 here, but like those games within the game, to just look at those individual matchups. If Drexel wants to win here, bottom line is you got to find a way to neutralize and take out Penn's best scorers. So if Victor Pandov is healthy, maybe you don't see it show up in the scorebook all the time, but Zach Spiker raves about this guy. Rebounding, physicality, and the defense he's going to have to play on TJ Power here are definitely going to be pivotal on Friday night.
Absolutely. Connor, I am inclined to ask you about how tough this road trip's going to be for Penn. One of the longer ones that there might be in Division I basketball. Of course, I'm just goofing. It's the shortest Division I road trip in college basketball. They got to walk across the street and then they're there. But
even that though, they're not even going to walk. They're going to take their scooters.
You know what? It's efficient. It's efficient. I don't blame them for that one bit. Although walking could be a nice little warm up before you get in the locker room. But yeah, I don't blame them for that. But anyway, it's going to be a really good crowd, I think, at DAC on Friday. I guess just in terms of this rivalry, you're a senior?
Yeah, I'm a senior.
So you've seen these two teams play before. How fun is this rivalry from a Penn student perspective? Is this something you guys get juiced up about?
Definitely in the right circles, but Penn, isn't the most sports inclined school. But one thing about Penn sports fans in general is the way that the various athletes support each other. It's something that I think is very present at all these Big Five schools. Actually, I'm expecting to go to this game and seeing. It's gonna be the day before the football game, so most of the football team hopefully shouldn't be there. But I'm expecting to see soccer team there. I'm expecting to see the lacrosse team, the girls field hockey. There's always so much athletic presence at these games, and I think it's something that Penn very much prides itself on, especially from the teams supporting each other. And honestly, it's usually besides the Penn band, which Penn band has a special place in my heart, so there's not a shot at them, probably the loudest sections of this fan base are going to be coming from athletes themselves. But of course, these Big Five matchups bring up so much alumni fanfare and so many alumni coming back as well. But from my perspective, I have a ton of fans. I have a ton of friends at Drexel. I'm very close to a couple of the Triangle writers who is their their student newspaper. So I'm probably gonna be texting them all week about this too, and hopefully there will be next to me on Media Row to talk to them as well. Shout out Paulie Lascalzo, who's the EIC over there. He's the man. But I'm super pumped for this matchup. I mean, it is really just across the street. Some of our schools touch each other. My girlfriend goes to Drexel, so the two campuses are very much together. I think a lot of people who aren't as familiar with University City and maybe are more familiar with some of the other Big Five schools don't really realize that it's not that they're just close to each other; they're literally touching. So and like you said, it's shortest distance traveled for an away game in NCAA. So there's a lot of excitement around it, definitely.
Yeah, Connor, I don't know if you were there. I was at the last time they played the Battle 33rd Street. Obviously they played at Wells Fargo last year, but when it was planned, I was working at Penn at the time. I was working for the football team. I have a friend of mine, our guy Gurleen Singh, who works over at the TV. He does all the TV broadcasts for Drexel. He got me a ticket to the game. I'd worked football practice and worked with the team that day. So I was in my Penn hoodie and my gray beanie. I walked right across the street, sat right behind the bench. Place was sold out. It was that Amari Williams team that had 20 wins for Drexel. That was really good. So that was That was, excuse me, I think that was the year before. Yes, it was the year before because Lucas Monroe was still in a Penn uniform before that game. But it was sold out just as the last 2 years since Drexel's been a Big Five member. I was at the first game where they held Temple. They hosted Temple on campus. That game was sold out. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there last year, but when they hosted LaSalle, that game was sold out. That's awesome, Connor, that the athletes support athletes there. I don't know how many of them are going to be able to get a ticket to this game because the place isn't that big. And I know all the students are going to fill the place out, and especially it being a Friday as well. But it's going to be a great atmosphere. The DAC's going to be sold out, going to be rocking. It's great that they get to play this game. I wish they could just do it every year because there's no reason why it shouldn't. Penn and Drexel should play twice in every single sport ever for budget, for rivalry, for everything standpoints. But will be a great atmosphere. Hopefully it can top the one that I was at, even though it was a very close game and Penn pulled it out now that they're official Big Five members. But yeah, very much looking forward to Friday. There's nothing that's quite like that as far as how close the schools are. I mean, kind of when I go to the game tonight, I'm going to make a right down 32nd Street off of Chestnut, and I'm going to drive past the Drexel sign for a Drexel building. There's going to be a small fence, and then there's going to be a Penn parking garage on the other side of it, and that's where I'm going to park to go to Pleasure. It's astounding just how close they are for those at home who don't understand. Like literally, they're not even separated by like a street. At 33rd and Chestnut, like you have all the construction going on at Penn where they had the walkway, and then there's the Barnes and Nobles where they have Drexel stuff in the window. It's like they're almost intertwined. It's pretty fascinating when you think about it. And like from working at Penn all those years, I know so many people that are from Drexel that interned at Penn that now work there full time. It's crazy. They might as well just be one giant. They shouldn't, so we can keep the rivalry, but they're just one big conglomerate. Honestly, it's just one big school. But yeah, we're looking forward to it Friday. Kyle has never been to a game at the DAC, so this will be his first one. And Kyle, you picked a very good one.
Unfortunately not. Yeah, but I'm very excited.
Yeah. Like Jake said, like one of the best, like intimate kind of like arenas. I think I am personally one of my favorite to cover games at. I mean, I'm obviously it's the Palestra, but like but like I love being there. I love how loud DAC Pack gets. It is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, most definitely. And we are looking forward to it. Connor, thank you so much for coming on and previewing this game with us. I'm very excited for my first time with the DAC. Obviously, we're all excited to see a great game against two rivals and next door neighbors. So very excited, Connor. Thanks again for coming on, though. Greatly appreciate it. Definitely want to have you on again sometime to break down Penn for us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Cope, any last thoughts for me?
Hey, appreciate Connor coming on. This episode will be released after a very busy week for Connor as well. Connor's covered a bunch of games. He's still got to go to school. He told us he's got some tests to take. I got St. Joe's, Penn, the day that we're recording this on Monday, the day after NJIT at Drexel, Wednesday, Villanova at LaSalle, and then Friday, we finish at the DAC with Penn Drexel. So a busy week, a fun week, but a whole lot of good hoops. A whole lot of Big Five hoops as well, Kyle. So we are really in the thick of it, even just one weekend. That's right. Absolutely. And we love to see it. So thank you guys for tuning in as always. You know where to find us at Big Five Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And of course on YouTube and our audio only versions everywhere. And make sure you check out Conor Smith on Twitter, Instagram, Daily Pennsylvania, and all that fun stuff. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. Thanks, Connor, for coming on once again. And we'll see you next time.